Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Double Entertainment. My name is Alexander Petri. Y'all know I like to live more on the wild side. When it comes to books and movies, I love everything that is emotionally raw, hard-hitting, and outwardly disturbing. However, sometimes filmmakers and writers push the envelope just a bit too far to the point it dilutes the entertainment factor. So for today, here are 5 films that disturbed me immensely. At number 5, Wake in Fright. Based on the novel by Kenneth Cook, Wake in Fright is a disturbing 1971 Australian thriller starring Gary Bond as a down-on-his-luck public school teacher named John Grant, who's only working to pay off debts he owes the bank. When summer vacation hits and school is let out, John Grant's goal is to make it back to Sydney so he can return to his girlfriend. Unfortunately, in a state of desperateness, he gambles away his entire salary during a night of binge drinking in hopes of making enough so he can quit his job. Stuck in the yabba, he befriends a local alcoholic doctor played by Donald Pleasence, a gentleman named Jock who offers him a place to stay, and 2 ruffians. The 4 men drag the posh and upper-class schoolteacher into a world of binge drinking, and I mean binge drinking, and hunting, which leads to one of the most disturbing sequences in all of cinema history. It was established during pre-production for Wake in Fright that the kangaroo hunting scene was essential, and at the time kangaroo hunting was big. After director Ted Kotcheff had a meeting with Australia's Humane Society for Animals, they granted him permission to go on a hunting trip with a professional hunting crew for the sole purpose of capturing raw footage of an actual kangaroo hunt. The one request was that he show the most disturbing footage in hopes of spreading awareness of the inhumane act. So in Wake in Fright, we see a live kangaroo hunt, and it is fucking brutal. The film is a very intense and unsettling watch for many reasons, and I remember watching it for the first time. I just sat in my room silently, staring at the wall for 15 minutes straight, contemplating the morality of eating animals. At number 4, My Friend Dahmer. I first saw this film when I was a senior in high school in mock trial class. My teacher was actually my favorite teacher, and so much so that I would spend a good hour every day after school just talking to him. But when he showed this film to class, it disturbed me so much that I would actually deliberately show up late to his class. Based on the graphic novel by Dirfback Dirf, the real-life friend of Jeffrey Dahmer, played by Alex Wolff in the film, My Friend Dahmer chronicles the high school days of Jeffrey Dahmer and ends right before his first murder of Stephen Hicks. We are given a raw and voyeuristic look into the home life of Dahmer as he is caught in the middle of his parents' struggling marriage. With very few friends in and outside of school, he likes to pass the time by doing what every American teenage boy likes to do. Scoop up roadkill and dissolve it in mason jars of acid, and enjoying the calm and relaxing sights and sounds of nature, watching a local man jog down the street and planning on murdering him. Knowing what we now know about Dahmer, and combined with a brilliant performance by Ross Lynch, it is incredibly upsetting watching another human being break down in such a way, especially while surrounded by such beautiful scenery. My Friend Dahmer is a must-see film, but be prepared to be disturbed. At number 3, we need to talk about Kevin. Based on the novel by Lionel Shriver, We Need to Talk About Kevin is an incredibly disturbing look at a mass murderer from birth to his eventual murder spree. Starring Tilda Swinton and oddly enough John C. Reilly as Kevin's parents and Ezra Miller as the titular Kevin, the movie opens up with this image that I can't make heads or tails of and traces things back to when Frank and Eva were happy and youthful. Eva is a travel writer and her one goal in life is to go to faraway places and explore the ends of the world, but the dream comes to an end when Kevin is born. It is immediately established that Kevin does not get along at all with his mom, and it seems as though his only goal is to make her life miserable. Eventually Eva and Frank decide to have another baby, a girl this time, and she's much more gleeful and loving than Kevin. Things take a turn for the worse when Kevin not only murders her pet guinea pig, but also blinds her in one eye after Kevin pours drain cleaner in it, resulting in doctors having to surgically remove it. But that's still just the beginning. Eva starts to get along when Kevin begins to order bike locks in bulk, and on top of that, he takes a keen interest in archery. Eventually, Kevin locks everybody in his school and goes on a murder rampage by shooting all of his teachers and classmates with arrows. After he's taken away in handcuffs, Eva goes home to discover her husband and daughter were also shot by Kevin right before he targeted his school. While the book was certainly unsettling enough, the movie's cinematography and performances are pretty fucking disturbing. At number 2, The Baby of Macon. For our next entry, it was honestly a tough toss-up between this and Peter Greenaway's 1989 film, The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover. While that film certainly disturbed me immensely due to the unflinching violence from start to finish, The Baby of Macon does offer an ending that disturbed me so immensely that it stuck with me for a week, giving The Cook and the Thief a run for its money. Starring Julia Ormond, frequent Kubrick collaborator Philip Stone, and Ray Fiennes, who delivered the incredibly frightening and unnerving performance of SS Officer Armand Gert the same year in Schindler's List, The Baby of Macon opens up in 17th century Italy. A plague has cursed the town of Macon, leaving all women completely barren. One day, the people of Macon are gifted with a miracle when an elderly woman, who is considered so, for lack of better words, ugly that her face must be covered at all times, gives birth to a baby boy. However, the elder daughter takes credit for being the Christ-like child's mother. One thing leads to another, yada yada yada. She falls in love with the bishop's son, played by Ray Fiennes. The Baby of Macon has a bull gouge him to death. Julia Ormond slays the bull and smothers the baby to death. Now let's get to what makes this film so disturbing. Eventually, the bishop orders the execution of the daughter for murdering the child, but laws forbid the execution of a virgin, which she publicly claims to be. So instead, as punishment, the Cosimo Il de' Medici orders that she be raped by the entire fucking militia. A woman is raped by 208 men in one go, non-stop. The very idea disturbed me so much I cringe every time I think about it, and if I saw it in theaters, I more than likely would have run out spilling my guts. For an honorable mention, The Mortuary Collection. Given I haven't actually seen the film from start to finish, I saw the trailer and that was way more than fucking enough. And the worst part is, I was not seeking out this film. I was innocently watching a YouTube video on cooking. However, when the algorithm got word that I like horror movies, they decided to treat me to a random trailer to The Mortuary Collection just before the video started. And the trailer opens up with a fucking man giving birth out of his penis. So yeah, it's not like an Alien where we see an alien popping out of John Hurt's chest. It's not even like in the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. No, we see a man giving birth out of his penis, and it fucking scarred me for life, and I still can't get that image out of my head. However, I will give this to the film. Caitlin Cuss's dance moves are pretty fucking spot on. At number 1, Threads. Released to the BBC in 1984, Threads starts off in the everyday mundane life of England, establishing multiple characters, mainly ignorant to the escalating threat of a nuclear attack by the Russians during the Cold War. One day, out of the blue, everybody's worst fear becomes a reality when England is nuked by Russia. Although there are immense casualties, there are still many survivors, and honestly, survival seems to be a fate worse than death. People are horribly maimed, amputations and other operations are carried out without any anesthetics, and eventually the world falls into a nuclear winter, in which the ecosystem mirrors that of winter, only this time for a seemingly never-ending time frame due to the radiation-clouded atmosphere. Food is scarce and everybody is starving, and casualties keep increasing. I watched Threads once, and that was way more than enough times for me, and it actually put me in a depression for a month. The worst part is that this has happened more than once throughout history.